I wanted to do part 2 of uh, recovering from narcissistic abuse. Someone messaged me and said that the first video wasn't enough, and I left out some things, and that's why it's really a part 1, part 2, and maybe even a part 3 series, because I did leave out a lot of things for a particular reason. That video was just about healing, about things that you could do and employ every day to heal yourself, even while you're going through narcissistic abuse. So I'm going to dial it back. I'm going to take you back in time before I got to that point where I needed healing, because the truth of the matter is, had I not gone through narcissistic abuse with my mother, I could probably still be in that relationship. So I'm only talking to you on the strength of hindsight, because I was there before with my mother. I knew what the abuse, that type of abuse, felt like. And so when I was experiencing that with my boyfriend, I knew exactly what kind of patterns I was dealing with. And I'm going to talk about some of those patterns now. And I just want you to know that should you feel if you're going through something right now where you feel like you could harm yourself, or feel like you just can't get out of this situation, you feel like you're going to, the only way out is suicide, I implore you to use the National Domestic Violence Abuse Line, and also use the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, and I'm going to insert that into the video as well. I wanted to get that out of the way first, because the type of abuse that you experience when you're with a malignant narcissist is not something that you could put your finger on and say, ha, this is tangible, this is what they're doing to me, I see it, I understand it, I know it, I feel it, hooray, it's narcissistic abuse, I'm gonna leave. No, that's not how it happens. It's kind of one of those things that you have to go through it. You have to go through the entire process of it in order to properly identify, to say, this is what this is, and this is what that was. So in my particular scenario, I'm going to give you some scenarios. Scenario 1 is having a conversation with someone, and you end up in an argument with this person, and they blame you. And after they've blamed you, and they have gaslighted you, told you that you're insane, it's your fault, during that same conversation, they have the tendency to try to appease you, to try to say, oh, I did this, and they'll own up to part of what they did, because they expect you to own up to another part, and then you will say, oh yeah, I shouldn't have, and this and that. Meanwhile, they full well know that they're the fault and the full cause of the problem. However, they have just gotten you to accept a part of the blame. And when that happens, you start to you really start to believe that the things that they're saying is true. So the gaslighting, oh, you're depressed, oh, you're insane, oh, something is wrong with you. You really start to believe that a portion of that is true, because you're owning the argument. Meanwhile, the narcissist is they've gone off and they've enjoyed the day. They've won the day from you. Meanwhile, you're still thinking about the things that they said. They have won it from you, because it's about power. And so a conversation would go something like, you've been cheating on me, I know you're lying, I know you don't give me enough time, you don't give me enough attention. And then they try to create in you these feelings of fear and doubt, and you don't know which direction to turn, you don't know how to really analyze that. And you know what they've said is false. They know what they've said is false. But while you are figuring out, well, how could you say that I cheat? How could you say that I lied? While you're trying to figure out that little part, and your little brain is like a little mouse going round and around and around and around and around in a wheel, they have caught you in their power. They have caught you in a cyclical portion of thinking that you can't get out of, and that causes your self-esteem to start to strip away. You start to feel like, okay, I'm not a good person, and then you start to blame yourself. And then, you know, as you're blaming yourself, you start to question everything. And the goal of the narcissist in the gaslighting and in the manipulative arguments, the goal of that primarily is to just get you to a point where you're below them. So you have to understand what I'm saying. You see yourself in one dimension. You see yourself as Jim, okay? You're Jim, you're nice, people like you. That's all you see. A narcissist may see you as, okay, you're attractive, you bring a lot of people around you, everywhere you go, everyone likes you, you can talk for yourself, you're articulate, you're smart, you're resourceful, everywhere you go, you attract people. And, you know, the narcissist sees that, and maybe they're in a relationship with you and they're envious of that, and they are envious over it, meaning they don't want anyone else to have it, but they're envious of you for it. Now, if they can break you down bit by bit by bit by bit, what they are doing essentially stripping you away of your identity, because you're not going to want to be yourself. You're going to be afraid of talking to people because someone is going to tell you that, oh, you're such a flirt. Oh, you're so friendly. Oh, you're this, and take your good qualities and make them into something negative. So you become very subconscious about your own ability to go out and make friends, and then you start to contract yourself. And the contracting of yourself into this smaller version of yourself is exactly what the narcissist wants, because if they can get that, then that means they're superior to you. So I've cut you down with my mouth, I've made you feel small, stupid, take away your identity, I've won an argument from you, and I always win the arguments because I create the arguments, I invent them out of thin air, I accuse you of things you didn't do, therefore I'm consistently in power. And that's what the narcissist wants, that power, that domination, that control over your life, to be able to use their power over you. And a friend of mine said, after watching the video I made, said, what man would do that to a woman? And I said, that is not a man. You know, and the person who would do this to you is neither a man nor a woman. The person who would do this to you is a child. It's a child. Like, you would see children playing, and one child has something that another child wants, and the other child is going to find a way to get that toy from the other child. It doesn't matter if the child is right, it's his or what, he's going to drag it away, he's going to claw it away, he's going to find a way to get it from that child. And if this child makes a stink, the other child is going to throw the toy away. He didn't get it. Child number one, who was the perpetrator, didn't get it. Child number two is still in tears over what was taken away, and then the toy is thrown away. And so you have to think of that in the scenario of the narcissist and you in the middle. The narcissist is the bully. The power is whatever it is that toy is. Whether you speak well, whether you're beautiful, whether you're attractive, whether you're charismatic, whether you are intelligent, whether you have you could probably have none of those things. Maybe you're just a little, you're just a little attractive in your soul, in your spirit. Maybe you don't even have a car, or you have none of those outward outward appearances that would attract people. That's not what the narcissist wants. The narcissist is consistently comparing themselves to what they have and what you have. and they are so empty inside that anything is inadequate. So you may think, oh, I have the skill, I can sing in church, and that's fine for you. You're like, okay, I'll never be a star, but I can sing, and it makes me happy when I sing. And when you go to church and you sing, everybody is so, they're so happy with you, and they're so pleased that you can sing. And that's your little thing, your gift. But what that gift brings you, it also brings you the jealousy and the competitiveness and the clawing, and the whispering and the falsehoods and the lies and the triangulation. So the narcissist really wants your soul, and they really want your gifts. They want the good thing that is in you that the world can see, and take that good thing and put it down as low as they possibly can, because they need you to be that low because they're already low. So they can really completely destroy your entire life, because after they do that kind of work on you, you don't have the backbone or the claws to really dig yourself out, to really say, oh, this is what's happening, I'm going to get out of this. Because you can't even pinpoint it. You can't even put it in right. You don't even know. You're confused all the time. You are confused. And that's how you know you're really dealing with someone who's playing psychological mind games on you. So what does that have to do with healing? Well, the first step to healing is recognition. And for me, recognizing that all the things that has happened to me in life was the fault of my mother, I was 30. I was 30 years old before I came to that realization that the problem wasn't me, it was her. And when my mother didn't raise me, and I thank God for that. But the instances that we were together were extremely painful, and they always ended with me being homeless. Always ended with me being homeless. Discard after discard after discard after discard. And I just want you to understand that the behavior of someone who causes you to be without shelter and be without protection and be without a safe place to go at night is not love. There is no love there. So I've always had it in my mind and in my heart about the things that she's done to me in the past. So in this particular scenario that led from me to, leaving my mother to a narcissist, because I went from a narcissist to a narcissist, and, the textbooks say children of narcissistic parents often end up with a narcissistic spouse. And I think part of that is because your narcissistic parent beats the living life out of you so low that the threshold is here. Okay? The threshold, even though you know that there are good things in the world, your threshold is still so low. You just want someone to love you. You just want, you don't care if they have claws and fangs and, and fur going out of their palms. You just really want someone who's there for you. And narcissistic spouses, they're very sweet in the beginning, because that's a part of the reeling in, that's a part of the hoovering, and the whining and the dining and being Mr. So great. And then you find yourself in a situation where, wait, what? How did I go from that to this? You can't even find the stepping stones to how you ended up there. So anyway, back to the story. I had moved my daughter and I, my 14-year-old daughter, from Miami. I moved her up to New York. My mother insisted that we came to New York, and it would be better for my daughter to have both my mom and myself in the home. This was in about 2007, and my daughter was very clear to me. The words she used to me, her exact words on my life was, if we move back to New York with grandma, I am going to run away. She said that to me. However, I couldn't find a better economical solution to what I was looking to do. And my 14-year-old at the time, she was really going in, she was really testing the wire. She was really trying it. She was doing all different kinds of things, and I didn't feel like, as a working single mother, that I had all the resources that I need. So when we moved back to New York, that's when I saw in truth that my mother was definitely the problem. And I learned, I kind of laughed it off. I thought she was a joke. I thought she was, you know, she was just a crazy old lady. And while my daughter was trying it, you know, she ended up in a relationship, my daughter, with a woman. And I was very clear with my daughter, I don't care about your sexuality, but if this was a man, I would put him in jail for statutory rape. So whoever it is that this person, whatever it is that this person is doing to you, and think that they're good for you, they stand the same consequences as a man. I will find them and they will be in jail. My daughter didn't like that statement, so long and short of it, she was coached into going into court and filing emancipation. In order to do that, she had to substantiate her claims with false abuse. So my daughter took me to court, and in order to get her emancipation, and there were a lot of things that subsequently happened before that, but that's the long and short of it. And you know, we all lived with my mother, and my mother said to me one day during the court process, my mother said, don't fight for her. Let her go to court, because you can't win this. And in all honesty, I thought my mother was right. I did think that I couldn't win it, because when children decide to take you to court, they have the entire judiciary system behind them. They have the entire system. So I was not in the position where I could fight it, and not having my mother as the strength, as the breadwinner, as the person who, you know, who was the homeowner behind me, I felt like I couldn't win it. And my mother told me point blank that she did not want my daughter back in her house. As a devout Christian, my mother did not want my daughter back in her house, period. So this speaks true to narcissistic discard. Narcissistic discard, they will find the time when you need them the most. It is not the time that you need them the least. It is when you need them the most is when they will discard you, is when they will reject you, is when they will find a way to throw you under the bus, and you know, and reverse over you. That's how they do things. I didn't know that at the time. So I stopped fighting. I asked the judge to rescind my parental rights, which they did not. I walked out of court with the intention of walking into a bus, meaning in bus Renae. That's what I intended to do. And when I was standing on the side of the road at Grand Concourse at the Bronx Family Court, I expected a nice big bus to come barreling down, and I was going to jump in front of it. And just when I saw the bus coming down, a taxi driver pulled up to me and he goes, "Oh, where are you going?" He just assumed I was waiting for a taxi. I jumped in the car and I went home, and I said, okay, God doesn't want that for me. But I was still obsessed with the idea, because I had lost everything I had worked for, my education, my value as a mother, everything that I had as a human being on the planet. I had put it in my daughter, and she didn't want me anymore, and I had to own that, and I didn't know how to be anybody else but a mother. And that sent me into a depression. The depression was severe. And out of the depression, my mother called the police because she wanted to move. She was moving. She retired. She said she was moving to North Carolina, and she never said to me, Renae, move to North Carolina with me. I see that you're having a hard time. She just couldn't. She just didn't have any power in her to say, Renae, I see you're not well. That's not how they do things. It was, you better go and find work, you better do this, you better do that, you better get it, and I was just anybody could see I was a hollow shell. I was just flatlined out of the entire experience. And I really felt like my mother should have supported me in the fight with my daughter. However, because my mother is a nurse of the state of New York, I guess she felt like having someone who had, litigious issues as a minor in her home would affect her nursing license some way, somehow. So it came up where the foster care system decided that they were going to place the child back in my care. They found no evidence of abuse. They found nothing, and they decided that they were going to place the child back in my home. And my mother pretended that she was a part of on that bandwagon, but realizing that my daughter would come back in the home, what my mother did instead, my mother also filed false claims against me. My mother, which is not the first time she did it, and there are people who will see this video who were there when she has done some of these things. So welcome, Michelle. Taz, welcome. Heal everybody. So there are people who know that these things are true and real, and they happened, and they were there, and they saw it, and they heard it. But anyway, the truth of the matter is, my daughter was supposed to come back to live with me, and my mother decided that that was not going to happen. Not on her watch. Not now. Not never. My mother is a devout Jehovah's Witness. Those people do not accept any kind of homosexuality. They don't accept people who see things differently. And I see things. I'm very welcoming. I do see things differently. I am accommodating. The only issue I had with my daughter was her age. That I wanted her to develop. I didn't want anyone to prey on her. I didn't want anyone to, get in her head and, manipulate her. She was a young woman developing with her entire future ahead of her, and I wanted for her what I would want if she had a boyfriend, which is give yourself time and give yourself some space. And just hold on to your youth as long as you can before anybody makes you feel like you have to be in a relationship with them. So what my mother did from there, my mother on one day unprovoked called the 47th precinct. Hello, 47th precinct. I know you know this face. So she called the police and told the police that she, my mother, was in fear of her life, that she was in fear that I was going to hurt her and hurt myself. That kind of language, I am in fear of my life, I am in fear that this person is going to harm themselves, is psychiatric language. And first responders, ambulance, and police are taught how to handle those things. When they came to the house, came into my room, they found me articulate, they found me calm, they found me, they didn't have any reason to substantiate what she claimed. However, because of the jargon that my mother used as a registered nurse, as a psych nurse, my mother is a psych nurse. Let that sink in. As a psych nurse in behavioral health, My mother's language caused the police to feel like they had to take me to the hospital. So they took me to the hospital. They took me to Our Lady of Angels, I think, Our Lady of Mercy, Our Lady of Mercy on 233rd Street. And when I got there, I saw a psychiatrist, and his name was Dr. Alexander. So I told him everything that was happening from A to B. And he said, "Oh my God, your mother is trying to use her knowledge of psychiatry to get you committed." He said, "Your mother is a narcissist." That was in 2008, almost 2009, sometime during the holidays. I had never heard that word before. And he said, "I'm going to tell you what's going to happen." He asked me to leave the room, and he called my mother. So we're talking one psychiatric professional to another behavioral professional. And when I went back into the room, he told me specifically that my mother was trying to use her knowledge of psychiatry to commit me because she did not want my daughter to come back into the house. So he said, "Your mother is going to illegally evict you, and what you need to do is go back home, go to the police station, tell them what happened, and let them follow you home." When I went to the police station, they said, "No, go back home and call 311, and then we'll come." While when the police finally showed up, my mother had gone. And when I went upstairs to the apartment, it was completely empty. So she had moved out on that day, and a neighbor came and gave me an envelope that had keys. My things were in storage. So this is in the middle of winter of 2008. So the bottom had completely fallen out. I didn't know where I was going to go. My daughter's somewhere in foster care, thinking I didn't want her. I did not know what to do. From there, I went to Miami to my friend, and from there, I got an opportunity to travel to the Emirates to work for Emirates Airlines. And so my life went progressively from homeless to Dubai in like that. And so the issue that I had with my daughter was unresolved. The issue that I had with my mother was unresolved. And this happened just like right at the cusp, right before the bottom in the recession really fell out. And it fell out everywhere, and I thought I was safe in Dubai. It fell out in Dubai. So I ended up back stateside, but out of the country. And then my mother hoovered me and called me and said, "Oh, I'm going to be in New York." At the time I had gone to Jamaica. "Oh, I'm going to be in New York. Why don't you come? You'd be so much better off here than in Jamaica. And, I'll buy you a ticket, just come." And I thought, okay. I still didn't know what I was dealing with. I've heard the term narcissist, but I didn't know what it meant. I didn't have the textbook. I didn't have the resources. I just felt like, okay, well, I'm out of her way, and, I don't know. So I couldn't really resolve the issues that I was dealing with. So I went back again from Jamaica to New York. This time, the problem was I refused to go to church. I refused to go to the Kingdom Hall, and I didn't want to go because when I met people who were in that religion, they would say to me, "Oh, this is your daughter, the heathen," meaning my mother had already walked around and told everybody that I was a heathen, I'd worship demons, anything you can think of, and I didn't want to go into that environment. Anyway, I refused to go to church. She put my things out on the side of the road. Now this is the end of 2009. So she did it at the end of 2008. She did it again at the end of 2009. And now it became too much. it was just the same thing over and over and over again. Why do I allow this person to consistently do this to me? Why do I allow this person to always take me down this path? Why do I allow myself to be vulnerable enough that this person, can do this to me? Now I was facing reality. Now it was like, you better go find out what this thing is. And I had an anxiety attack, as I said in the previous video, and I was taken off the bus by ambulance. This time I was sent to the hospital, and I was, given, was it Xanax? I was given Xanax, sent home, and now I was going to therapy for PTSD. And I was living with a friend, and it was just like too much. It was just too much. My everything about my life was just in the toilet. My precious daughter, I didn't have anymore. My precious career, the economic crash ate it. My self-esteem, everything that made me was definitely dead and done for. And that's when I met him. And when I met him, there were a lot, it was like I was standing on shaky ground. And it was one of those people that when he's driving, he's so aggressive and he's yelling at the people, and it's always everyone else's fault. He was never like, okay, I'll let someone through. And it was just like he was just always up here all the time. They're wrong, and they're this, and da 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 da. And it was just that loud, abrasive, aggressive way of communicating. And I am down here. My energy level is like flatline. I'm just trying to survive. And he did tests on me. I knew there were tests to see how far he could do things. How much would she take? And you have to be very careful when you're in a relationship with someone who does things to you and then blames you for it and says that they didn't do it. You have to be very, very careful of people like that, because it only gets worse. When someone punches you and says, oh, it was an accident, or minimizes what they've done to you, or breaks something or throws something at you, or tells a lie and says, oh, I didn't do that. When someone does those things to you, you're on shaky ground. You're not going to come out of that situation with anything good, no matter what you put in. So the healing process for me happened when I recognized patterns in his behavior that were identical to my mother. The recreating of reality, the recreating of, I didn't do that, I didn't say that, that never happened, you're lying, you're stupid. And in the same conversation, I love you, I only did that because, even so they've admitted it, and then they turn around and say, and then you also did this. Or they would say, I only did this because you did this. And so you go from here, your stress level goes from here to, they've stressed you out so much, and you're going back and forth fighting for your rights and fighting for your right for life. And then they go down here and take their voice down a little bit to appease you. And then you also come up here and agree with them. And you start to accept that what they're doing is normal. And you say, okay, well, some people are like that. The minute you start to say some people are like that, you're also saying to yourself, if that's normal for them, then I expect that they're going to do it to me. People never think about that correlation. They always, oh, that's how he is. You know, if somebody's a cheater, oh, that's how he is. Or some people are like that. You don't correlate that when you say that, you're co-signing. You are actually giving them the authority. You're rubber stamping them the authority to do that to you. Okay? So you have to weigh whether or not this is valuable to you. You know, I have a roof over my head, I have food to eat, but I'm being abused, I'm being gaslighted, I feel like crap all day long. What purpose is food, a car, and what purpose are these things if you feel like you want to harm yourself all the time? It is of zero value. This essential life becomes of zero value because you cannot live it. You are flatline, you have everything that you need, and you just can't live it because this person is eating away at you all the time. So when I ended up in that relationship, I saw, I literally was dating my mother. I was literally in a relationship with someone who expressed all of the behaviors, and that's when I started to research narcissistic personality disorder, and I found Sam Vankin. This is 2010, and the partner displayed all of the signs and all of the symptoms with the exception of cheating. And this is what I want you to be careful of, is not because you haven't caught a person cheating meaning that they're not means that they have not cheated. You just haven't caught them. The problem that I had in that relationship is that I was virtually flatlined and left for dead. The vultures, all they had to do was come by and they could get a nice big old carcass for free. I was essentially numb and dead. I just wanted to go from day to day to day and survive. I had no goals, no plans, nothing. I had no drive, I had no ambition, I had nothing. I just wanted to, I just wanted to live. And with this person, the size of an elephant, in his bravado and his ego and in his physical appearance, it was like an elephant standing on top of a glass table. I was fragile, and I was very open, and this person was just bam, 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 bam every day. That's what my life was about. So the healing was recognition. That's the very first step. So when you start to recognize that you are dealing with someone who is abusive, because you have the patterns of behavior that are consistent, the consistent lying, the consistent arguing, the consistent cheating, the manipulating, the gaslighting, telling, inventing versions of reality that isn't so, blaming you for things that they have done, and causing you to feel responsible for their shortcomings, making you feel smaller, peeling away at your self-esteem and your person and your identity, peeling away at everything that is you, that makes people like you, want to be around you. Those things are dangerous. They're dangerous because if it happens consistently over a period of time, you will experience post-traumatic stress disorder. Your hair will fall out like mine did. You will be diagnosed with all kinds of things that you can't even pronounce. And it's just from this one vampire that you're feeding, because the truth is, while they're doing that to you, they're also giving. They're also giving you their time, but you think, okay, this person's giving me, they've given me a necklace, or they've given me this lovely place to live. What they're doing is guilting you. They're buying you deeper and deeper and deeper into the relationship. They're guilting you into into leaving, into staying. So you balance in your mind you're so confused all the time, you can't figure out what's happening. But the flowers, the jewelry, the money, the car, it's really about guilting you. It's really about holding you, using things to tie you in, to accept their bad behavior. So that's what the game is about. It's about power. And no matter what happens in the world or wherever he goes, when he goes to work and comes back, there is someone that he is more powerful than, and that is you. There is someone that he has control over their life to make it rain, sun, or snow. They have that power, and when they begin to lose that power is when they start to get more aggressive. So the last video ended in a high note, but that was not the end of it for me. I was experiencing stalking throughout that entire process. I was experiencing a variety of different types of behaviors. He had downloaded an app on my phone called Stealth Genie, Genie, which is now illegal because of the purpose that it was used for. It came up in too many court cases, including mine, of what it was used for. And but there are many other apps just like that. I talk about them in the book at victimwarfare.com. I talk about how those apps are used, and I will make another video to tell you exactly how they're used. But your healing begins when you recognize that you can always do better, and that is the tip of the iceberg. Literally, when I say the tip of the iceberg, meaning narcissistic abuse is deep and it is large and it is wide. And I'm telling you now, in 2018, events that happened 10 years ago, so and continue to happen. So this is what I'm trying to say to you is, unless you understand, you recognize what you're seeing and how to deal with it, and how to combat that, and how to battle that, unless you recognize those things, you cannot be healed. So the purpose of this video is really to help anyone out there who is going through something or anything. I don't know what it is. I don't know who it's for. I really just hope that you can listen to the words, listen to my voice, and understand that there is a better day. Don't think about suicide. Don't think that you can't get out. Don't think that there is no way, because when, it's very easy to feel that way because you cannot put your finger on it. It's not something tangible. It's not something that you can say, this is what that is. This is, I can identify it. I could take it to the police and they can arrest him. A narcissistic abuser knows how to ruin your life without lifting a finger, and also ruin your life while lifting a finger. But there are always options. I mean, you can guerrilla your own escape. As long as you're alive, as long as you have breath in your body, and you have, a mind to think that there is better out there for you, I guarantee you can get out. You can get out. I did it twice. You can get out. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. I hope I covered some of the aspects of, of the recognition part of healing. And, let me just also say, you can do better. There's greatness out there for you. There are beautiful people out in the world, and you'd be very surprised at how people and things come together to help you live in a more beautiful life. So just trust in that and believe in that. Believe in your creation and believe in your worthiness. Yeah, that's the word, worthiness. All right, thanks so much for watching. You have a great day.